Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. So I'm not going to review the first part of the speech, which you heard about cryptocurrency and its legal tender species status. I will tell you that there are 17 states now that are establishing cryptocurrency reserves. This is, quite frankly, and I'm glad that Representative Cavero brought up macroeconomic policy. There is an abandonment that is going on right now. It's in slow motion, but there is an abandonment from Federal Reserve currency. It's called a flight to safety. Now, whether it's real or perceived, the fact of the matter is we now are seeing over $1 trillion in capitalization of multiple different cryptocurrencies. Representative Wilmoth made a great point that the market is going to seek what the market wants to have. So what you have now before you is a bill that is permissive, not prescriptive. It's not requiring the treasurer to do something, but it is opening a path. I believe Representative Diaz might have talked about opening a path. I'm sorry, I couldn't see all the faces, but opening a path to facilitate the market. Quite frankly, when I hear a conversation about risky investments, Federal Reserve currency is about the most risky investment you can have today. So with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Members, and I'll add a little color to Senator Fincham's good comments there, is that we've seen a few of these bills that were mine, and this is similar to a couple of the bills that we heard in this committee. And there's going to be another bill right after this one, which is Senator Wendy Rogers, which is also similar. And I think the three of us are going to kind of get together and see if there's things we need to match up in them after this, hopefully. But basically, it's a strategic reserve again, but the way that, and I like this way too, that these two are done are more the state treasurer or others have the ability to invest in Bitcoin or these kinds of things up to 10% of the funds. Now, most likely they would invest in an ETF. Probably the easiest way to do it rather than holding it in an actual reserve, but they could do it. It leaves it up to the treasurer to go through that process. And then Mr. Fincham also has a similar thing where you talk about confiscated monies could go into that as well. So good on that. Any questions for Senator Fincham?
Chairman,
Yes.
Senator, in drafting this bill, did you work with the Treasurer's Office?
Yes, in fact, I talked to Jeff Coase about it. He said, well, we've got a little trepidation about risk. Really? Yes, he kind of stepped on a landmine there. Mm-hmm. What is the Treasurer's Office invested in now? Stocks, bonds, they all carry risk. I think the Treasurer's done a fabulous job with managing the portfolio. Quite frankly, I think with the perceived volatility in the market, now would be a really good time to, I hope I'm not advertising here, it'd be a good time to pick up some XRP and some Bitcoin because they are at lows. Okay, so if you could, it sounds like a commercial. Forgive me, Mr. Chairman.
Am I watching?
I was trying to walk very carefully on those eggshells, Mr. Chairman. But the point is,
It's like 10 cup, you know.
Hey, get yours today.
the point is, Mr. Chairman and members, everything that we do when it comes to currency and investment of the state's assets has an element of risk, and I think that. Treasurer Yee has done a phenomenal job at picking up the ball from Dean Martin to Treasurer Ducey, Governor Ducey, on through that lid, has continually enhanced the standing of our reserves to the point where it's billions of dollars, where back in the day, I remember that it was simply millions. So with that, I'm happy to answer any further questions. I'll stick around because I got another bill that's coming up, but remember one thing, this is permissive. It is not prescriptive.
That's a good point. And the Treasurer's Office, I've had discussions with them too. They're looking at it. And the thing is if this passed and they still are looking at it, they can look at it for another year and then decide to do it. Mm-hmm. With the exception of the reserve that brings in funds from not the general fund, like a couple that we did, and that's in Mr. Fincham's bill as well, where it would deposit into a reserve that they would manage, but it would not be money that's coming out of the general fund, and they would have a competitive process for a custodian.
Chair, one really
Yes.
quick question, if that's okay.
Yes?
Sponsor, first of all, thank you for coming today, but based on what our chair had shared and with the similar bills that we had been talking about, I'd just like to know, would you be willing to work with the chair and the other sponsor of the other bill to come to some agreement on, discussion on a better piece?
Yeah.
I understand the question. I'm willing, and I think they are. It's not necessarily that we have to combine them in one bill, but we just got to make sure if they all pass, that they line up and they do the same
Right.
thing in certain aspects. But
Right.
absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Cabero, yes, because this is a whole of community thing. So, and there's a whole bunch of moving parts that have to
Yeah.
do with this because it is currency. You've got the actual transaction pathway.
Right.
You've got the acceptance pathway. You've got the hold. You have the investment piece. So one of the things that I like about what has presented itself here, in an odd kind of way, there's been this very natural, organic collaboration, approaching the very questions in different directions, all pretty much arriving at the same place, that we have something that's prescriptive as opposed to, shall is always a risky
Right.
thing
Yeah.
when we're in the permissive mode and people try to say, well, you shall do this. No. That's why we've tried to make this permissive, so that the state treasurer has the authority
Right.
and has the position to say, in my opinion, as the fiduciary for the state, this still presents too much risk for me. Now, at the same time, I suppose if she wanted to, if the treasurer, not she, if the treasurer wanted to pick up, say, 10% in gold, okay, she could, because that was permissive. The other thing that I would like to point out with the chairman's comment about found money, if you will, when we have civil asset forfeiture, that's not a part of the budget.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity to take those things that are kind of oddball funding and use that as the, forgive me for stealing your comment, Chairman, as the sandbox to prove this out. I think it's a grand opportunity.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just to follow up really quick, as you share that, many would make an argument this would be a federal issue, right? But at the end of the day, I know what you're trying to accomplish, and I would hope, and I hope you agree, that you would work with both the Treasurer's Office, who's not here today, as well as our AG's office, who's not here today, to make any comments towards this bill and everything else moving forward. So I just wanted to hope to get your support.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Representative Cabero, absolutely. I mean, as I said, this is a whole of community thing. When it comes to the constitutional question, Congress has the authority to coin money. There is nothing in the Constitution that calls on a printing press. And with the irresponsible spending at the hands of both parties, we now find ourselves in a place where it comes back in the purest form of federalism. It now comes back to the states to say, you're spending us into oblivion. We now have to take some steps to protect ourselves, not just from currency exchanges, but from you, the federal government. So I think your question is spot on, man.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Any other questions?
You're done?
Chairman, or new chairman. So my question is, can the treasurer's office not already do this in terms of investing in crypto?
Excellent question. So I believe the chairman said the magic term, ETFs.
Uh-huh.
She's not permitted under current law. Let's put it this way. If we were to look, for example, at recorders, the county recorder is restricted by law what they can and can't do. Right now, the state treasurer is restricted by law about what you can and can't invest in. What this is doing is it's saying, with the blessing of the legislature and the governor's office concurring, we are going to permit you to do a thing which previously you were not permitted to do. That's why I say it's permissive, not prescriptive. You can choose to do it, but if you cannot resolve in your own mind, Treasurer Yee, that the that the reward outweighs the risk, then you're in a defensible space to say, I'm just not going to do this right now. But ETFs, I think, because that is a tradable instrument as opposed to cryptocurrency itself, that does create a pathway to get it done.
Members, any other questions? Seeing none, I think a motion be.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I move that Senate Bill 1373 be returned with a due pass recommendation.
Members, you've heard the motion. We'll have a roll call vote.
Representative Aguilar,
No.
Representative Blackman,
Yes.
Representative Rivera,
No.
Representative Connolly.
Mr. Chairman, I'd
Yes.
like to explain my vote, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Senator Fincham, respectfully, I did invest in Bitcoin early, and I just watch it. And the last few weeks, it has been somewhat volatile, like really volatile, compared to the entire time that I've been watching it and kind of trying to feel comfortable with it. So I do feel like in my own little experimental world, at some point, I'll feel like we've adopted. I'm just not there yet. So today, I'm a nay. Thank you.
Representative Diaz,
Aye.
Representative Hendricks,
Aye.
Representative Villegas,
No.
Representative Wilmot,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Way,
Aye.
Chairman Wenninger,
Aye.